Everyone, Canada review. Let's get into it. This is the Off Camera Podcast. I'm TC. Welcome back, episode 23. And Canada, what a mediocre race it was. So it was, I think this race exposed the dirty air that the cars are dealing with at the moment. So we'll go straight into our race rating. And I'm going to be pretty critical about this one. Not going to lie, because this for me was a 3 out of 10. Worst race of the year by far. And I think it's it might be controversial, but the McLaren collision didn't even add much spectacle or entertainment value because of the blame on one driver and how it affected the outcome. But we'll get into that later. Definitely a 3 out of 10 because nothing happened. The tyres didn't last and the tyres didn't enable for overtaking. And on top of that, you're on a track that doesn't allow for overtaking. I said this in the preview. I love to drive this track. I mean, the track it's a cool track, but the way the cars are at the moment, the track layout doesn't allow for overtaking. This type of track it sort of reminds me of Melbourne in a way where you have these left-right flicks, right-left flicks that don't allow the cars to follow, get traction off a corner, and make a move under braking. And it suffered from that. We saw no one could get a big enough delta to make a clean overtake work. And it ultimately ended up with Norris trying to get around Piastri, and he got a bit desperate, made a shit judgment, and crashed in the back of his teammate. But yeah, it did not add much value. So it was a 3 out of 10 race for me. Pretty standards. I mean, still great in terms of a racing spectacle. But George drove a great race. I mean, this doesn't discredit any of the drivers because they still obviously went hard, did their best. But yeah, with the tyres and the car combination, it just it just ruined the anticipation. I mean, any undercut or tyre management that teams tried to make positions on, just never had enough momentum to work or actually gain a position, which is something that was quite boring to watch because you could sort of anticipate that was going to happen anytime someone came up to the back of someone or went for that undercut. It was just clearly blocked off and the race went on as is. So that's sort of my justification for the 3 out of 10. And yeah, just 4 a.m. here in Australia and I bloody got up for that shit and I wasn't happy to say the least. I mean, I love watching F1, but damn. And definitely Le Mans 24 hours stole the spotlight this weekend. That's all I'll say. The championship standings, Piastri has extended his lead, but he didn't extend his lead. He lost ground to Verstappen. So obviously with Piastri not winning, but Norris DNFing, he extended that lead to 22 points. And Verstappen closed in a little bit, but he's still a bit detached from the McLaren boys. And yeah, so Piastri, who else changed around? Obviously, Russell closed in a bit on Verstappen. Williams didn't really do shit. Hulkenberg scored some good points again, which we'll talk about later. And yeah, that was pretty much all the changes in the championship standings. But yeah, as I said, 3 out of 10 for me. What a boring race. So that was that. Let's get into the qualifying. So qualifying was interesting. It was quite surprising how it actually turned out, because practice really was a red herring because Ferraris looked quick, McLaren looked quick, Verstappen looked quick. I mean, Mercedes did look quick in practice, but it was almost like Ferrari's going to be right up there. And then come qualifying, they just weren't. Leclerc fucked his lap. Leclerc fucked his lap and blamed it on air, which was hilarious. He literally blamed it on air. And I mean, I can see where he was talking about. Hadjar was there, so but I think it was down to he was just too throttle happy coming out of that second right of that left right and just completely lost traction. So that was pure driver error there. But George Russell came up clutch with a banging lap and he deserved it. He really pulled it out. McLaren also fell off in qualifying. Norris looked to be the quickest, like he was going to, clutch up for a good pole, and then come Q3, he just bottled his lap. And then Piastri looked like he got a fair bit out of his car, but just didn't have the outright pace. So don't know what happened there. Max was always in contention, but I don't think the car was quick enough for pole anyway. So he came second. Kimi, banging lap, fourth. Ripping job by him. Ripping weekend all round by him. And Hamilton did secure a fifth ahead of Alonso, Norris, Leclerc, and Hadjar. And Albon snuck into Q3. Williams was another one of those red herrings this weekend. Looked dominant in practice. I mean, in terms of the midfield battle, they were quick. And then Sainz just extremely unlucky to get impeded like that. He probably would have got through to Q3, but Hadjar, rookie mistake, no gamesmanship, just a rookie mistake there from Hadjar, and Sainz was out in Q1, which was highly disappointing because I feel like he was definitely on for a Q3. So disappointing stuff there from Sainz. He really bottled that one. Obviously not his fault, but he definitely was leaving disappointed. Albon did make it to Q3 though, but didn't get anywhere in Q3. Started 10th. Hulkenberg also made it out to Q2, and as well as Colapinto outdoing Gasly, which was pretty cool to see. Haas, a little bit of no man's land. Obviously, Sainz. Stroll was out in Q1, and Gasly as well. Nowhere. Alpine were absolutely nowhere. So, Stroll, bit of question marks around his health, obviously, with his wrist. We still don't know what's going on there. And it clearly looks like Fernando is sort of that step above at the moment, which was interesting to see because his talent is just insane. How does he still do this? How does he still do this? Unbelievable. Fucking believable. So that was qualifying. Interesting stuff there. But let's move on to the race. George Russell, just a perfect performance from his standpoint. You can call it boring all you want. I can call it boring all I want. But George Russell just nailed this race, and he just did it. And it was simple as that. He took it from the start, won, and delivered a great result for his team. Mercedes, absolutely perfect. Verstappen came home second with Antonelli third. Piastri not getting on the podium, losing that spot out in turn one, which was pretty much probably where his race, his podium chance ended because, from that point forward, there was pretty much no room for overtaking, and especially up that front order, you're just not going to get overtakes done. Leclerc and Hamilton 5th and 6th came home pretty decently for an average qualifying. Fernando and Nico scoring points once again, which is awesome to see Fernando back up there. He's having a little great run of form. The Aston looks like it's a bit better of a package, and Nico with another class drive into P8. Ocon and Sainz squeezing points from not a good starting order, which was good to see as well. Sainz coming through. Albon did have a shitter though, getting ran wide in the first lap. So that's what happened. All this is like banking on this first lap. These things that are happening are deciding the race, which is hilarious. Mind you, there is a little bit more room to move in the midfield because of how tight things get. So it was great job from Sainz there to deliver a good result. Let's talk about the safety car. incident. So George Russell was, Red Bull seemed to think George Russell was, giving them a bit of gamesmanship with the safety car. So George Russell seemed to be slowing and weaving a lot. You could say a lot more than usual, but according to him, he's doing it as he should, and led to Verstappen actually getting a little bit in front of Russell in behind the safety car there. So very interesting. It was very interesting. And the McLaren incident, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's like a big deal. Like this was over in a lap. I mean, it was so anticlimactic that it just pissed me off almost. Like Norris was making a great charge. I was hoping to see this great battle between them. Norris with a bit better of a tyre, and he had the better pace. And he came up, delivered a nice move on Piastri, didn't fully get it done, then came down through the last chicane, got a good run on Piastri, but for some reason stayed left, ran up his ass, took himself out. So the battle only lasted a lap, and then that was it. He was out. Norris took full responsibility. So, look, that was that, and it ended like that, and Piastri didn't get any damage, so it wasn't really like a drama or a major spiral event that between this team, because it's Norris fucked up, copped it on the chin, and he's going to move forward, and Piastri didn't really feel the effects of it because it didn't really affect his race. So I don't think it is as big as a deal as people are making it out to be, but nevertheless, Norris has got to be careful because that was a shit judgment call. I mean, look, I can't say none of us can say anything. We're not F1 drivers, but from the TV screen, it looks like a poor judgment. All right, he just ran up the arse of Piastri, and it was plain as day. I mean, I don't know what happened. With his pace, he probably could have hung it around the outside and made the move stick. So I don't know. I don't know, but it was hilarious, and it was like, what the hell when we saw that. So, crazy scenes, and then onto the penalty, a 5-second penalty. I mean, FIA, we've got to stop basing these penalties on the outcome of the situation. Like rules, this is what I don't understand about F1. Rules are the rules. And there's been so many instances where they're changing the penalty level or penalty, the punishment based on what the outcome of the situation is. And it just defeats the purpose of having those rules in place. Like a collision like that, he didn't finish the race. He DNF'd. Just to give him a 5-second penalty doesn't impact him at all. Like, he DNF'd. How can you give him a 5-second penalty? And it took ages to clarify the decision, as it did with the Russell and Verstappen safety car thing. Like, Norris hit him up the arse. It was a clear driver infringement. He got no penalty points, and he only got a 5-second penalty that he's not even have to serve because he DNF'd. So, I understand that, it's a teammate and it didn't affect Piastri's race, but hello, if you just drive up someone's ass, it's not a free 5-second penalty. That's it. That's not how it works. You can't just change what you say and do based on specific context that changes, that changes the outcome of that specific situation. So I don't understand what they're going for there. I think it's like, if you cut the corner, you get a penalty. What, do you not get a penalty if you cut the corner in front of your teammate? Like, come on. So, I don't know. But in my opinion, it should have been a grid penalty. As much as I don't want that to happen, I want everyone to have a fair start. But he did a driver infringement. That's what it is. 3-place, 5-place grid penalty for the next race. He didn't finish the race, so he can't serve the penalty in the race. It didn't affect his race. So that's what happened. And where does this leave McLaren? Let's start talking about the teams. Where does this leave McLaren? Piastri looking like the number one driver at the moment. I mean, this is a big topic that everyone's talking about. But from Norris's perspective, it's not like a bad thing, and this is where he shouldn't be losing his confidence. Like, Piastri's a fucking good driver. people need to stop thinking like 1-2, 1-2, and this. They're both like gun drivers, and losing to one another is not something to be ashamed of. Losing to a top driver in the world, it's not like, does it mean Norris is a shit driver? Norris is still a freak. Verstappen is still a freak. Russell's still a freak. Leclerc, Hamilton, Piastri, all of them are. So it's like Norris having a humble himself a little bit. Yeah, sure, of course. You want to beat that teammate. You want to beat them. But Piastri is a freaking gun, and he's a generational talent. So it's not like, oh, I'm terrible, I'm this and that. No, Piastri is just a gun. And you are too, Norris, but you got to step up. And that's what he's got to do. So I don't think McLaren are worrying about this either. And that's what I think how it should be handled. They're doing good for themselves where they're not getting involved in this 1 and 2 driver. They're just letting their drivers go hard. They've got the constructors likely in the books. And as far as they see it, let them go. Avoid crashing, but let them go. And it's a good excuse for Stella to come in and be like, all right, boys, we don't want contact. Give each other space. Race, but give each other space. We don't want to see contact again. So it's sort of that free chance to be like, whoa, nope, don't make contact like that. So Mercedes, let's talk about Mercedes. Excellent weekend for them. Best result in a long time. A 1 and 3, almost maximum points. So top notch from them. It looks they did have a suspension change, I believe, which they brought in, which was the one that they brought in for Imola, but revised because it was they thought it was affecting the tyre deg. They brought it back for Canada, and it turned out well. Great result for them. How can they build on this? They got to keep getting results, keep getting podiums, get back, make it consistent, and then they can really fight. They really want to take. I think that should be their goal: get that second place in the constructors, and I think they definitely can. So hopefully this form continues. Same goes for Ferrari. I mean, it's a similar story. I think Red Bull might be slipping out of that points paying fight with Tsunoda being pointless. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so Ferrari really should. They got to work on that consistency. Same with these. This is what's going to be the difference between Mercedes and Ferrari this year. Is that who's going to be consistent? Who's going to show up consistent? Who's going to show up to more races? And it's going to be interesting to see who figures it out. We did see in the press, on social media and stuff, Fred Vasseur is getting some pressure because his contract up for extension or renewal, and he's getting a little bit pressed to turn things around, which I think is fair enough. Fair pressure. Ferrari's always been like that. But hey, I think he's a good team principal. But yeah, as I said, with Red Bull, same thing. They're sort of slipping away from that 2 and 3 battle with Ferrari and Mercedes, just based on the fact that Tsunoda's pointless. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Shit drive, and he's doing nothing. I mean, he's up to date. The car's the same as Verstappen, and he's just not performing. So unfortunate for Verstappen and Red Bull. But Verstappen's fighting that fight alone, unfortunately. Sauber, because he's next on the list. Nico Hulkenberg is showing his true class. Gab, he's quick over one lap, but he just doesn't have that race, that racecraft yet. And Nico is showing up with their upgrades that they can be a regular points contender, and it's awesome. Love to see it, because a Sauber coming in 8th after a 5th place is just great. And this was really on merit. They didn't have that huge tyre delta like they had in Spain. So awesome stuff from him. Seriously, great work. Great work. Williams, as we were saying before, were really good in the early stages, but their weekends have just seemed to fall apart in the race. Like, it always seems like they have good pace, and then, mate, they just drop off completely in the race, which is weird. And it's really unlucky, because I want to see Sainz. Come on, Sainz. I want to see him in the points, please. I really want to see him up there. So hopefully they can, just put their weekends together better. Haas, with their gun throwback livery, they Qualified pretty shit. Their pace wasn't great, but Ocon recovered well. They had a good strategy, and he managed to score 2 points. Behrman almost got in the points as well, but finished 11th. So unlucky from there. Racing Bulls, absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere they've been. And yeah, Liam Lawson's still not doing anything special, and it's pretty unfortunate for him. Hopefully he can get it together. I want all these drivers to do well. So hopefully he can get some momentum behind him somehow. Just get like a points finish. That would be really good for him. Aston, as I said before, looking like they're a bit quick. Can they maintain that pace? Can Stroll get on top of the car with his wrist and stuff like that? We'll find out. But Fernando is really on, and I'm loving it. It's great to see him back performing this well in the points. Hopefully he can get a points result next time out as well. Who else have we got? Oh, Alpine. Last one, Alpine. Shite. That's all I can say. Shite. They were nowhere this weekend. Gasly qualified last, started last, and unfortunate for them. I mean, it just doesn't seem like they've got it. They just really don't seem like they've got it, and yeah, they're going to fall behind if they keep this up. So extremely unfortunate for them, but hopefully they can turn it around as well. As usual, we want everyone to succeed. So let's go over to... I wanted to mention for Hamilton hitting the groundhog. That was hilarious. So predictions, I did pole Oscar and win Oscar. Oh, God. This is like my least favorite shit to do. Oscar to win, Oscar to pole. Wrong. Win to Russell. Great drive from him. Class drive was Leclerc. It wasn't a class drive. I'd say it was a mediocre drive. Class drive, I'd probably give it to... I mean, Russell, I would give it to Russell because he was just outclassed the field. Probably either Kimi, Nico or Fernando for my class drive would be. Maybe even Sainz coming through the field. There's a few options you could go for there. But let's go with Kimi. I mean, he did have a harsh European triple header, and to come back with a podium, first podium, awesome stuff. Let's give it to Kimi. And run wide, Tsunoda. I'm taking a point on that. I'm taking a point on Tsunoda. So get that up here. Tsunoda is the run wide drive, which I did predict was nowhere. So yeah, that was a weekend. Pretty nothing weekend. I mean, I've said multiple times I like Canada as a track, but damn, give me some good racing. Other news, Ferrari win Le Mans 24, which was top notch. As I said at the start, that probably took the cake for the weekend. And yeah, Kubica, we know as a former F1 driver. I mean, what a story, coming back from 2 life-changing crashes. One at Canada in 2007, 2 life-changing crashes. To come back and win Le Mans is just incredible, and he is an absolute legend. So that was so good to see. And if you haven't looked at it, just go watch some of the Le Mans like clips and stuff. It's really, endurance racing is awesome. I mean, I know it's a little bit difficult to watch the full racing, but just as a spectacle, learning about the manufacturers and how the sport works, it is really great. So awesome stuff there. It took supreme positioning. Pole position for the weekend was the 24-hour, let's face it, because GP was average. And that's all we've got for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It was a good chat. Let me know what you guys thought about the Grand Prix, and we'll see you for the next preview.